putting the laboratory in the palm of your hands, if I'm understanding that right. So we're doing a point-of-care pathogen detection, measurement of proteins and DNA on an ultra-low sensitivity.
Yes.
So I'd like to hear that.
Okay, thank you very much. SuperNova is a privately held Delaware C Corp. It's about 2.5 years old. Came above the radar in January of this year at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. We have offices in Maryland, here in the Valley, London, and Hong Kong. The market, today's lab really is yesterday. It's a hub and spoke model, central lab. Samples are collected and transported there. It's very inefficient, lots of errors, and in most developing countries and emerging markets, it's never going to work, very similar to the mobile system that we have with phones. So, tomorrow's lab's really today. For 15 years, we've tried to decentralize laboratory testing to the site of interest, and it's been limited by technological shortcomings. So what we're proposing, we designed the technology from scratch to go from the main lab to close to the site of interest, point of care for human health, point of use for non-human health. The basis is to go anywhere, anytime with any test with the same quality or better than the central laboratory, anywhere in the world. And literally put the laboratory in the palm of your hand. The way we do this is these are the tests that are point of care today, pregnancy, strep, very simplistic technologies. The worldwide market's fairly large, but it's growing very slowly because more people want to decentralize testing to the point of interest. This market is double-digit growth, but it's constrained by technological limitations. So we're talking about cannibalization of existing markets, but creating new testing volumes by going into areas that you can't go into today. Literally putting the lab into the palm of your hand. So we're starting first with the non-human health market. And why is that? Because barriers to entry are lower. Most of it's certification, not regulatory. Emerging markets, rapid needs. And there's a lot of money in this area. The basis of this technology is proprietary. It's simple, and it's very adaptable. Most technology today, think of the little yellow thing here as a flashlight or a label that you put onto a bacteria, a virus, an antibody, or a piece of DNA. You can only put so many of these on before they start canceling each other out. And that's been a limitation. So the industry's either boosted the signal or they play around with the sample with highly complex, highly expensive equipment. What we propose is something simpler. For every one flashlight that's the gold standard in the industry, we provide millions of flashlights of capability or detection capability. When you do that, you get direct detection of samples. We can detect DNA without amplifying it through PCR, for those of you that are technical. The technology that goes around it is highly simplified. We use an LED diode that you can buy at Radio Shack for 40 cents to collect the light. The ability to lower costs of delivery, especially in emerging markets. If I can sell this in China and Africa, I can make very good margins here. And then lastly, we're going to take tests that are done in the central lab that are not able to be done at the point of interest and move those tests that people have wanted for 15 years. We do that with what is called AMP crystal. AMP crystal is a nanochemistry technology that allows you to label whatever you want. So one crystal is equal to 2.6 million crystals of light. It's so strong, it can be seen with the naked eye. In fact, when we trigger this with a watch battery, piezoelectric nanowave, it stays lit for weeks. We only need it for 5 minutes. For those of you that are technical in the audience, this is comparing central lab Campylobacter, which is a very nasty food pathogen, to our technology in the blue there. We are equal to or better depending on what concentration. These are our partners. KSP is #1 diagnostic supplier in Asia and #1 in China. We're also collaborating with Merck in Germany, GC for oral dental health. These are the products. Quick dipsticks in emerging, developing countries. Lateral flow, single, multiple tests, very similar to pregnancy, but doing tests that you can't do in this format. Watch battery, disposable, give it away. Run a wide variety of tests. And then something a little bit bigger than a cell phone or an iPhone is full quantitation. And then remote sensing for biosecurity, biodefense. So this is our layout for commercialization. We're currently working going east to west because of the money and the need in the market is more there than here. Developing custom assays with partners for pharmaceutical companies. These two generate revenue, get us cash positive. License the technology in the central lab because we're now realizing that we can actually improve the gold standards of detection. And then continue developing many of the central lab tests into this point of care or point of use. So we'll get our revenue right now. We're getting revenue from strategic partnerships, R&D payments, non-dilutive cash, and we're moving towards the strategic partners being strategic customers to buy the product, as well as selling it. Leadership, this is my background. I've run publicly traded companies, and I've got over 36 startups. I used to be a venture capitalist in Asia. This is my team, who's who in diagnostics and healthcare. So in summary, we're targeting 4 industry sectors: human health, animal health, industrial, biosecurity, biodefense. Any test, anywhere, anytime, with the same performance of the central lab, but decentralized with ease of use for human health and non-human health in a global setting for global health. Literally putting a laboratory in the palm of your hands. So these are our offices, our main offices. Our office here in the Valley is in Campbell. It's where we do all biomedical engineering manufacturing. This is my contact information. Thank you very much.
So you make the AMP crystal,
That's correct.
and then you work with companies that have various antibodies or whatever to find the targets that they need to find?
No, we developed the AMP crystals are based upon liquid crystals in your television sets, your computer monitors. They're high-density, energy-mediated chemistry crystals. We've taken that concept and we've changed the structure. So we have composition of matter, use, and manufacturing process. And what we do is we make the AMP crystals so they're biologically active. I can put a piece of DNA, antibody, pathogen, whatever it happens to be. And then right now, for point of care and point of use, we're developing our own 5 of the 6 products that you see there. And then we're working with companies that have high volume testing, like pharmaceutical companies with their reference labs to provide our service or our technology to them in a revenue sharing model. Our goal is to bring these point of care and point of use to Asia and developing markets, work our way across Europe into the United States with non-human health, and then eventually get to human health with a partner. Otherwise, I'm spending another 5 years of doing development. I'm spending another $20 million. I've spent $3 million to date. I'm a co-founder. I'm also an investor. So put your money where your mouth is and spend it wisely, and that's what we're doing.
So there's no sample preparation required. You can just put a blood sample right in front of the AMP crystal, and it will...
So the AMP crystal would go in a disposable. They're either powered by a watch battery or a rechargeable battery. Say a piece of DNA, you have to isolate it. And so we're using a couple of commercially available processes. You take the liquid, you put it into the sample port, it wicks down, 5 minutes later you have the result. In the case of food, you crush down the leaf, separate the DNA, or if we're looking at an antibody detection, then we put in a liquid, you press a syringe down, it pushes it through, filters it, and then the liquid goes into the cell and then it's processed. So yes, it's meant to be run by anybody, anywhere, anytime. Don't even need any training whatsoever. It's all self-contained, HIPAA-compliant, CLIA-waived design. For those of you with a healthcare background.
Help me understand the comparison you're making with central labs. I think these are very different business models and different goals, basically, that your technology achieves and the central labs provide to their customers.
So I'll give you a great example. You can't do TNF-alpha, you can't do neopterin, you can't do CRP testing today in decentralized format. Mm-hmm. You run those 3 in parallel and do a ratio, I can tell you the difference between a bacterial infection and a viral infection. Guess what? We overuse antibiotics, right? And most of the GPs, the doctors that are treating, have no clue and they just want to get you out of the office. Wouldn't it be nice to know if you got bacterial or viral infection right there at the point of intervention? Can't do it in the central lab because you got to collect the sample, send it back. STDs is another one. You know, most people come in and they just get treated with antibiotics. They've got syphilis or something. They're contaminating everybody else. Wouldn't you rather know right then and there? And so what we're doing is we're looking at tests that you can't technologically do at the site of interest and then move them. Now, hospitals are very interested in using this because right now in Hong Kong, everybody knows about SARS and avian flu. You go through the airport, you have a temperature of 103, they take your temperature, you get pulled off to the side and they swab you. You go into a hospital hotel for 3 days and you have to wait for your culture to come back. If you got a 1-week business trip, you're screwed. You do this, 5 minutes later I say, on your way, take some aspirin, or nuh-uh, you're going over here quarantine and you're going back when you're not contagious anymore on the plane. That's where hospitals are seeing the value of this when you work together. In many parts of the world, this developing market, like in Africa, they're not developing landline systems, they're using mobiles to conduct banking business. And the same thing is happening in healthcare delivery.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Neil.